And welcome in the Sports Edge, powered by sportshandicapper.com. We've got the nobleman here, Side Sauce. How you doing, Sideburns?
What's going on, Dan the man?
You know the dream's alive. Jamie,
Yeah,
King of the Jamies is here. Unfortunately, Jamie, our man Seal, no surprise whatsoever, is having computer issues. He'll be here shortly, but it's a big day for many different reasons. Opening day in baseball as we record here on a Thursday afternoon. The Cubs and Brewers are already getting going at Wrigley Field. The Masters in full swing. So, Jamie, we'll start with you, Kev. We'll get back with you just a little bit here. But, Jamie, it's the Masters. I don't want to say it's the best major because I know the U.S. Open and the Championship and the PGA have their place. But to me, it's my favorite major. And for many people out there, it's the one that means the most, kind of like Wimbledon is in tennis. Not that the U.S. Open isn't important and the Aussie Open, etc. But there's just something special, unique, and really just beautiful about Augusta National and the history and the tradition. A tradition unlike any other. And I just wanted to get your thoughts right away on what you think about the Masters, what it means to you.
I've always loved the Masters. You know, I think it's the familiarity because you're always playing Augusta every single year. You know all of the holes. You know, I mean, I was watching it. I remember watching Faldo win it back in the 90s or whatever it was, and Lazabal and Woosnam and Sandy Lyle as well. And those are the things, you know, you remember the 13th. You remember the 15th. You remember Sandy Lyle's bunker shot out of the fairway on the 18th. You know, Woosnam's putt on the 18th. You just remember so much history there that you always get excited about it more because, okay, you know, it's at, you know, the US PGAs or whatever's at, or the British Opens back at St. Andrews. I couldn't tell you one shot from the last Open at St. Andrews. Couldn't tell you one. I've got no ideas. But the Masters, it's the comfort factor, isn't it? It's the, you know what's going on. You know what drama can happen. You know how bad it can get. And you also know that they've got the 2 par 5s there on the back 9, which could be eagle. I know they've made some changes to 15 this year, so that's going to be slightly tougher. See a lot of guys laying up there this morning. But, you know, it's just the drama that it brings, isn't it? And the unpredictable. You've got the predictability of the course, but you've got the unpredictability of how it's going to play.
Yep.
And that's what we all look forward to.
Dip into a little beautifully said, by the way. Dip into a little coverage here, you know, live on a Thursday afternoon. There's Tony Finau, one of my long shot plays. He'd normally be about 35 to 1. I got him at 50 to 1. So he's made a little hay early on and then gotten himself back to even par. Cam Smith, the current leader right now at 600, but in trouble on 18. And Jamie, talk about your process. Shorter field, I think it's 91 golfers this year. You know, normally in a U.S. Open or a regular tournament, it's $156 or more. Yeah. And just kind of how you went through, and I'll throw the worksheet up here in a minute from Scratch Caddy. But when you get ready for a major like this, especially the first major of the year, smaller field, odds are a little different. What is the way you tackle it compared to other tournaments?
So, I mean, with the Masters, you already pretty much know what you're kind of looking for. You know, you want your guy to be coming in good form, some good finishes, February, March. You know, it's not really the outsiders event, is it? We've already seen the betting this week. There was, you know, a dozen players at 20 to 1 or under. I mean, I think the last really big upset was probably Danny Willett, and that was, of course, when he won at -5. Of course, the weather was atrocious last year. So you've got the familiarity of the same players. The same players play well all the time. I mean, look how many multiple winners there are here. Bubba, Phil, Tiger, obviously, Jack. I mean, you know, this course, if you can play the course and you can know the greens and you have the experience, you can continually play well here as long as your body lasts. So, yeah, I mean, course experience is vital. I mean, Danny Willett, when he won, he had 1 start here. But you've got to have at least 1 start. Obviously, you know, everybody knows the record of rookies, and Fuzzy Zeller was the last one to win it as a rookie. So, you know, you can scrap out guys pretty much straight away from it. You know, and then you got the recent form, your course form. It depends how you want to look at your recent form. You know, which tournaments you want to weight more heavily. towards this. I like the Arnold Palmer as a correlation with the Genesis as well. So, yeah, I mean, you pretty much know what you're going to get, and the bookmakers price it up accordingly with so many short price players there. I mean, it is pretty open. So the first guy that we had this week was Scotty Scheffler. And the reason why, I mean, I was thinking about this guy for at least 2 or 3 days. And I know he's only ever played the course once. He came 18th last year. But he's got Ted Scott on the bag. And they've obviously, Ted Scott came over to him this year. They've already won 3 times. So, these two are gelling really comfortably. He can use Ted Scott's experience there to sort of pad out his home. If Scheffler would have played this 2 or 3 more times, he's probably in single figures favorite. So I thought 16 to 1 was just value on Scotty Scheffler. That's the reason why I put him up. Like I said, he's only had 1 go round here, and that was always the big drawback for players before. But then Danny Willett comes along and wins it with 1 time out here. So, I just think that this may be the biggest price you'll see Scotty Scheffler for the next 4 or 5 years. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see about that. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a bit of value at that price. Brooks Koepka was the next guy that we had. Missed cut last year, but of course he had the broken kneecap, remember, and he's had a couple of top 10s before that. He has some decent finish, 3rd in Phoenix, I think he was this year. He was in the match play, lost to Dustin Johnson, I think. So he goes in some decent form as well early. Very much under the radar, isn't he? Right now, nobody's really talking about him. And, he can handle the wind. He'll handle the weather, whether it's tough scoring or low scoring. He's going to compete in both. So Scotty Scheffler and Brooks Koepka were the 2 sort of main picks. We've got a couple of prop bets and match bets there as well. I am against DeChambeau. We bet DeChambeau to miss the cut at plus 148. So we've had a bet on DeChambeau to miss the cut. He's just struggling, isn't he, right now? He's injured. Even when he was fully fit, he's never done anything here. And obviously he's got the worst record for the 3 putts around Augusta. So there's plenty of reasons there to bet against DeChambeau. And I just thought plus 148 was a kind of a decent bet. Matt Fitzpatrick was one of the other guys who we've had. Really solid around here. Really good course form as well. Really good course form. Real good recent form as well. Even though he hasn't won on the PGA Tour, he's always going to be there or thereabouts. So we took him at the top 5. Maybe a small little bet on him to win as well. But you know what you're going to get from Fitzpatrick. He's going to be there or thereabouts. And this course is one of those where it's like, you get an eagle on 13 and all of a sudden you're in the frame. And funny things happen around here, don't they? So yeah, Scheffler, Koepka, Matt Fitzpatrick, DeChambeau to miss the cut. They're all up there on Scratch Caddy. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously only the first day right now and plenty of time to go. But tomorrow will be interesting with the wind, and we'll see what everybody else does. And just one other thing as well about Tiger. I mean, it really is pretty good to see him back. It's pretty cool, to be fair, when you think of where he was. But him winning here, I can't be having that. You can't be having that. As the greatest player that's ever been, but not played a tournament for 17 months. You can play golf, but then tournament golf is completely different. And I think that's just the thing that's going to hold him back here. Different story in St Andrews moving forward. If you can stay healthy and get ready there with a proper preparation, completely different story. But yeah, first tournament in 17 months. I'm not having any of Tiger this week.
Yeah, no, great stuff by you, Jamie. And I'll tell you this: when you're seeing Tiger Woods right there, I definitely was. I thought that the play on him was to miss the cut. I just thought, just started walking 9 holes, then 18 holes this week. But to see him back and playing, reasonably well so far. I mean, he's flirted with being in red numbers. I think he's back to even now. I mean, he's had chances to stay, under par. The fact that he's been able to get through this first round, that was the big one. Well, actually, tomorrow is even bigger because to do it for one day is one thing. To do it for 2 straight days after not having done this for what is it, 500 or so days since he's been there, and 408 days since the accident. It's awesome. And it's always better when Tiger Woods is around. So
100%.
kudos to him. But the value, I mean, I know a lot of people, Jamie, he was the second most wagered on across the board consensusly at most sports books around the world at 40-1 or so. That's crazy. I mean, he's not winning the Masters. It's not happening.
I think the bet probably over the weekend would be to bet against him sort of Saturday and Sunday in a match bet. You know, especially if he's out of contention. That leg's going to start feeling a lot worse when you're not in contention after 4 days of walking 18. So, I mean, I'd possibly, bet against him in an 18-hole matchup on round 3 or round 4 would probably be a good call. But obviously, we'll have to see what happens before then. It may not even get that far.
All right, he is now back to 100 on the 18th, so he can still finish under par in the first round. That's an accomplishment in itself. Great to see Tiger back. But as you said, I'm with you, fading him for doing anything special over the weekend, as much as people would love to see that. Let's see his approach there. That's not too shabby. He might have a chance to get to 2 under. That's about a 6.5 footer, about a 60%, 70% make rate for tour pros. So we'll see what happens with Tiger Woods as the crowd, the patrons gets fired up after that one. Jamie, great stuff by you as always. Check out, of course, Scratch Caddy worksheets there. Great stuff as always. We'll get back with you in a little bit. And here he is, Sealy McNeely. The champ is here, the Westgate champ. Were you feeding your fish? Is that why you were late today?
No, I couldn't figure out my computer.
Well, you have been called a dinosaur before, so
yes.
I've always defended that. How are you on this fine Thursday afternoon?
I'm not happy. I bet against Tiger Woods in a matchup.
For the whole tournament, right?
Yeah, I hope he falls over.
It's round 1. Relax. If Tiger Woods was +4, you'd still be like, I'm sour. But listen, isn't today a day for you to rejoice? As we record here about 4 Eastern on Thursday afternoon, opening day, Cubs and Brewers already off. They're the first game off. I know a couple games were postponed due to weather, including the Red Sox and Yankees. What else is new? My Tigers get going tomorrow against the White Sox in 47-degree Detroit. Possible rain here in the Motor City. But it's opening day, Seal. You love baseball. It's your sweet spot. How are you feeling on opening day?
Cold. I feel chilly.
You feel a little chilly?
A little chilly.
Chilly monsters? But let's talk about baseball. And you and I were having a discussion off air yesterday, and you had mentioned something about the first week in baseball and wanting to watch the pitchers. Explain your processes, because you have been, and this is not, me just trying to pump you up, because I wouldn't do that because I love you, but we love giving each other a lot of crap. You have been incredible for a long time, the first month or two in the baseball season. Obviously, throughout the whole year, you're great, but you really hit a huge stride right away, and you have for years early in the season. But kind of walk people through the process you're going through at sportshandicapper.com with the early stuff in baseball.
Oh, I like to watch the pitchers first time through the rotation, because this was kind of a weird spring. It was really short. None of these guys are really stretched out. The only guy that kind of was stretched out was Scherzer. He got to almost 100 pitches in one of his starts, but then he hurt his hamstring. So it's a little shaky. So the bullpens are going to be big first 2 series this year, I would say.
What do you think? When you look at early season matchups, obviously weather's a big factor, and rain and wind and all that kind of stuff that can go into making a selection one way or the other. What are the things that you really are focusing on? Obviously, you mentioned the pitching stuff, but is weather a big factor for you? We know, obviously, here you're in Pennsylvania, in Philly, I'm in Detroit. The Midwest, Chicago, I mentioned, it looks the weather's fine today, but it's kind of chilly. There's a lot of different issues that you have in the Midwest and the East Coast early in the season. Is that a big factor when you look at what you're going to take or stay away from?
Yeah, because, it works both ways. Sometimes when it's too cold, well, obviously when it's cold, the ball doesn't go anywhere. The ball doesn't travel nearly as far. But on the other hand, the pitchers, sometimes they don't get a good feel for the ball if it's too cold, and they're not any good either. So it works both ways. It's got to look for track records of pitchers that can pitch in April. Some guys don't pitch well in April, and it's all because of the cold. So. What
are some of the teams? Are there any teams? I don't know if you're on some future stuff that you want to let the people know about. Obviously, a lot of different sports books these days, you can bet that throughout the year. They're not going to go away. Back in the day, you used to have to bet it before the season started. But But are you on any futures, any teams that have value for you, any win total type stuff, any teams that you think are going to be a lot better than the experts think or a lot worse than the experts think? I know that it wasn't the A's that literally had a 10-game drop in their win total. I know that they had a double-digit drop in their win total. They're basically, they're completely tanking. And I just saw the Tigers, my Detroit Tigers, they had a 2-game move from 77.5 to 79.5 kind of across the board. Are you seeing anything like that? Anything you're on when it comes to those kind of wagers?
I bet 2 unders this year. I bet Cincinnati under 74.5. I think they're going to have a tiebreaker, especially after the All-Star break, when they get rid of anybody that has a pulse. And I did bet Oakland under 71.5 wins. They're going to get rid of everybody too.
Yeah,
but they'll be terrible before the break, and they'll be even worse after the break. So those 2 teams. The Tigers picked up. I like the Tigers picked up Austin Meadows late in the spring.
Yeah, randomly. I don't want to say randomly, but just kind of out of nowhere, a late night Tuesday night trade, and Austin Meadows could have 30 home runs for the Tigers, and of course they're without Riley Green right now, the great young player, the outfielder that's part of the future in Detroit. But they've got Torkelson up, the overall #1 pick from a couple years ago, and this is going to be a very interesting year for the Tigers, who obviously for a long time now, for about 5-6 years, have been in the dearth of baseball after that 10-year, basically every year except for one contending with Jim Leland and into Brad Ausmus. So what are your thoughts on the AL Central as a division? Because you've got the Twins that got Correa. They've got Buxton who's an MVP candidate. The White Sox are one of the favorites to win the World Series. Royals are kind of still the worst team in the division, in my opinion. The Guardians didn't do a ton, but they've got Bieber. What do you think about the AL Central as a division?
I think it's a tough division. I think the White Sox will win as long as their starting pitching holds up. But I think it's a competitive division. I mean, Detroit's better. I don't think Kansas City's terrible. I mean, Cleveland's the Guardian. They have no offense. Their pitching's still good. I mean, it's a tough division. A lot tougher than the NL Central, I can tell you that. The NL
That's
Central
for sure.
Terrible.
If you had to, before I let you go, if you had to make, and I know it's super early, but I just want to put your feet to the fire on this one. If you had to give me your World Series matchup and winner, who would it be right now as we start the season?
Let me know who's healthy. It's impossible.
At least give me one team. Give me one team that's going to win the World Series. I'll tell you, for me, I'm on the Blue Jays, and I know the Padres don't have Tatis Jr. for probably 2 or 3 months, but I still love them. I think they have a ton of talent. They're 17-1 to win the World Series. I like Padres and Blue Jays in the World Series.
Tough division with the Padres. I mean, they got San Francisco if they could be good again, which who knows? I mean, they overextended late.
But they might get Tatis Jr. back at the perfect time. As long as their head's above water, he comes back, starts banging stuff. They're going to be tough to beat. They got a good staff too.
No, the Padres were supposed to be really good last year, and they really underperformed last year.
Right. I think it's going to happen again.
Terrible. And I mean, they'll be there. I mean, there's a lot of good teams out there. I agree. Toronto's really good. Toronto can hit.
Yep. They get Guerrero Jr., baby.
I mean, Toronto, they got a tough lineup to pitch against. Really, really, really tough. I like the back end of their bullpen. I mean, they lost Robbie Ray. It depends if the kid they got from Seattle can pitch okay for them, the lefty. That's a tough division too. Tampa, Yankees, Boston. That division's loaded. I mean, poor Baltimore Orioles. Oh,
the Orioles.
Can you imagine being the worst team in baseball and playing in that division?
Yeah, but guess what? They took the fences out at Camden Yard. They moved them back.
Yeah, that's just
not as many home runs in left field this year.
Yeah, that probably hurt them even worse. They're what a dreadful team they are.
All right, great stuff as always from the Westgate champ. The champ is here. Check it all out at sportshandicapper.com. See, we'll get back with you in a minute. Let's bring in Side Sauce. He's excited. How about your Phillies? Are they going to suck this year or not?
No, they're going to be bashing the ball, that's for sure. Especially when it heats up, like Seal was saying. Weather has a lot to do with it, but they're going to be bashing the ball now. Who knows if they can pitch?
Yeah, that's the big question for a lot of teams. But let's talk NBA playoffs. You know, the season's winding down. Lakers, thank God they missed because they suck. I think LeBron needs to leave the Lakers. I think Vogel's got to get fired. It's the fact that they missed the playoffs is just ridiculous with all the talent, bringing in Russell Westbrook as well. But I wanted to get your feel and your thoughts on as we get ready for the NBA playoffs, and we've talked with Seal about this as well. I know that the regular season can be very annoying in the NBA. You know, Seal had a great play yesterday. Clippers +3 went to -7 because the Suns were resting literally everybody. And it's tough because that happens a lot in the regular season. And the NBA has become very tough. They're scoring tons of points. Totals are crazy, all that stuff. But when it comes to the playoffs, and I'm a big zigzag theory guy, especially in 7-game series, where a lot of times, the first team that wins, you bet against them game 2. It works out a lot. And especially these days in the NBA, because there is a lot of parity when you get to these playoff series. What do you think about the playoffs and trying to tackle that at a high level? Because it's obviously much different than the regular season. These games all matter, and there's a much better feel when it comes playoff time. What is the way you look at that as you start making selections for the NBA playoffs that are going to start in a week?
We do follow the zigzag theory as well. It's worked out for us in the years past. We'll have some series bets we'll look at during the 7-game series, and you just take it game by game. And these last couple of games here, we'll be looking at teams that are out of the playoffs to look to bet over in those games. That's worked for us very well in the past, also.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the way the NBA is this year, it's not like, even the worst teams in the NBA on a decent night can still beat the best teams, but there really is a big disparity between the top. Look at Brooklyn. Brooklyn, can they get it as in the top seed in the play-in tournament at the end of the year for the Eastern Conference? And then if they get in, they're still one of the favorites to win it all. It's kind of a weird thing right now. Yeah,
nobody wants to face Brooklyn in the first round, and it's funny because the NFC, the race. The race in the East is so tight for 2, 3, and 4. It's going to be decided in these last 4 days.
Yeah, it's interesting too because Kyrie Irving can finally play.
Yeah.
In Brooklyn, so that obviously adds.
He can't play in Toronto.
No, he can't play in Toronto. They play the Nets. But you mentioned, let's take a look at it. You mentioned the top heavy Eastern Conference and how close it is. When you look at this, obviously it looks like the Heat are going to get that overall 1. Then you have the Celtics. Yep, the Bucks and Sixers are all separated by a couple, by a half game there from second to fourth. And then you mentioned Toronto; they're 3 out behind the Sixers, so they're probably not going to be able to get to the 4th spot. And then you have the Bulls; all those teams are going to be in the regular tournament or the regular playoff seedings. And then you have the play-in tournament between the 7 and the 10s. Is there a team or two you're looking at maybe further down the trough that maybe has a better chance in the East at least? To make some hay. Chicago, obviously, with devastating injury news, they would have been my team, but not anymore. For me, you mentioned obviously the Nets. No one wants to see them, but I just something tells me if the Charlotte Hornets get into the playoffs as an 8th seed, they're not going to necessarily have a chance to win the series against the Heat. But I just like them in certain matchups, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on the Hornets or another team. The Hornets are the team to me if they somehow get in as an 8 or a 7 seed. I think the Hornets could make some hay. I really do.
I really don't. I think that it's the Bucks and the Nets. I really think it's those 2 teams are the best. I know the Heat are very well coached, and that guy will win them a couple of games by himself in a series.
Sure.
And I'd love for the Sixers to go far, but I don't see it this year. And I just really think it's the Bucks and the Nets are the best teams in the East, and they're going to show it.
Let's look at the West here. Of course, the Suns are going to be the overall 1 seed. Grizzlies, Warriors, Mavs, Jazz, Nuggets are definitely all basically in. And then you have the play-in tournament. We'll see if Minnesota and Denver, swap stuff there. But the Clippers, the Pelicans, and the Spurs, the Suns were my pick last year. And obviously it was a great series by Milwaukee. I still think the Suns have a great chance this year. Grizzlies definitely have a solid chance to make their way through the postseason in the West. They're just so balanced and very well coached themselves. But
they are.
Look down further for me here. Is it a team like the Jazz? Can the Nuggets finally, perform the way that many people thought they would be able to in years past with all their talent there? Minnesota, who I know Seal's been on a lot, the Timbershits, the Clip Joint, the Pelicans. Is there another team down there that could maybe be a disruptor, if you will, like Uber was in the rideshare space?
I think the Nuggets are in a series. I think the Nuggets can match up with a team just for that 7-game series and win. I think they could go far.
Yeah, the Nuggets, they're the kind of team, Kev, that, for years has had the ability and the talent to get it done for some reason, just always kind of fail. They've had some weird coaching situations, and maybe this is finally the year. When you got a guy like Jokic and some great guard play, and I know obviously Murray's been hurt on and off, that kills you, but the Nuggets are definitely a team that could really upset some of the top teams in the Western Conference and make people very upset.
I agree.
Thought they were going to be good. All right, good stuff by you as always. We'll continue to talk NBA playoffs as we get further into the postseason. Let's get some parting shots before we go here. Sam, Jamie, we'll start with you. Masters going on. We got Tiger Woods -2. We've got Scheffler's right in the mix. How you feeling about heading into the weekend with the Masters?
Yeah, no, excited. It'll be, you know what, whether you're in contention or not from a betting point of view, it's just always great to watch, isn't it? But Scheffler's looking strong. Hopefully he can navigate 18 right now without a bogey, or be at 4 under them for the rest after round 1. Could well prove to be a bit of value, I think. And you know what, like I said, I mean, maybe the biggest price you'll see on Scotty Scheffler for a while at the Masters.
All right. Well, good luck with all the stuff on the weekend. You always check Jamie's stuff out at scratchcaddy.com. Seal's answering the phone, so Sideburns, you can't. I love how, and then I told you no. All right, so livers and onions is popping in. That's all. Let me see that shirt, livers and onions.
It's been.
All right, love it. All right, let's get back. You guys make it so difficult to.
Yeah,
Sideburns, parting shot from you. Seal was on the phone.
I'm just excited for this weekend. This is a great weekend. You got golf, you got the end of the NBA, and baseball starting up. I'll be excited to just sit here in the office.
It's one of the great weekends of the year, especially after college basketball sadly is over. You got the Masters baseball and all the good NBA stuff winding down as well. Sealy McNeely he's known as Mr. Robot or Computer Maestro #1. Parting shots, please.
When's Tiger going to hit the wall?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay.
Yep. And who's the random guy in Jamie's painting back there?
You know him.
Is that Rafa? No way. The legendary Rafa. You look like you're 21 years old. I couldn't recognize you. Pura vida. All right. That's the end of the shout-outs. You can't get a better shout-out than Rafa. Love it. You look so young, I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, Rafa for Presidente.
Yeah, Presidente. All right, that's going to do it for us. Check out all Seal's great stuff at sportshandicapper.com. Always a pleasure to be with these noble. Good luck with all the golf stuff, Jamie. We'll get you back next week right here on the Sports Edge, powered by sportshandicapper.com for Sideburns, for Jamie, for Rafael Presidente, for Sealy McNeely, for Livers and Onions. I'm Dan Leach, the Squatch. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars, believe in the dream, cash those tickets. Peace.